Black Janitor turns bubbles into a game to calm a 12-year-old autistic girl, not knowing her billionaire mother was watching. Step back! She might bite. The security guard's warning echoed across the marble lobby. Elijah Harris froze mid-step, mop in hand, as his eyes fell on a trembling 12-year-old girl, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. Without hesitation, he grabbed the small bottle of bubbles from his cleaning cart. Gently, he blew the first shimmering spheres into the air. Isabella's wide, fearful eyes followed them, hesitant at first, hidden behind the tinted glass of the boardroom. Her mother, billionaire Victoria Kane, leaned forward, quietly watching the scene unfold. No one knew it yet, but what began as a simple act would change everything. The lobby of Kane Industries gleamed with marble and polished glass. Executives and guests bustled about, their footsteps echoing across the cavernous space. Elijah Harris, janitor for nearly a decade, moved quietly at the edges, a mop in hand, eyes always observing. Today, however, his attention was drawn to Isabella Kane, a 12-year-old girl with autism, sitting tensely on the edge of a marble bench. Her small hands clutched a worn stuffed rabbit as she rocked slightly, overwhelmed by the noise, the bright lights, and the crowd behind the tinted boardroom glass. Victoria Kane, the billionaire CEO and mother, watched silently. Her arms rested on the ledge as she observed every detail. The way her daughter's eyes darted at sudden movement, the trembling of her small fingers, the way fear clouded the room. Victoria had tried everything to calm Isabella, therapists, sensory specialists, and high-tech interventions, but nothing had worked. Elijah hesitated for a moment, assessing the child's fear. He had no credentials, no authority, just a bottle of bubbles he sometimes kept for his own niece. Kneeling a few feet away, he unscrewed the cap and blew a bubble slowly into the air. The bubble glimmered under the lobby lights and drifted toward Isabella. Her wide eyes followed it, and she didn't flinch. Elijah continued, turning it into a playful game. Each bubble floated, swirled, and popped with a gentle tap. He described the colors, laughed softly with her, and encouraged her to reach for them. Slowly, her rigid posture began to relax. Victoria leaned in, astonished. No one had reached Isabella like this before. A janitor, humble and unnoticed, was breaking through a barrier that money and power had failed to overcome. Elijah's game grew more intricate. He blew bubbles higher, then lower, guiding Isabella to chase them, swat them, and pop them one by one. Each bubble became an opportunity for interaction, a bridge between her fear and a safe, joyful experience. Her laughter started as soft giggles, growing louder and more confident with each pop. Security guards hovered nervously, unsure whether to intervene, while executives whispered, impressed and astonished at the scene unfolding in front of them. Victoria Kane, however, watched in complete silence. She could feel her heart tightening and loosening with every bubble. Her daughter, usually overwhelmed and withdrawn, was now smiling, laughing, and engaging with the world in a way she hadn't in years. Isabella reached out with both hands to catch multiple bubbles, and Elijah adapted instantly, blowing more at just the right pace. The lobby, once tense and chaotic, seemed to transform into a gentle playground. The high ceilings echoed with Isabella's laughter, and the soft pops of bubbles bursting in midair. Victoria couldn't tear her eyes away. She had underestimated this man because of his uniform, his position, his invisibility in the corporate hierarchy. Yet Elijah's presence, patience, and calm authority, entirely unassuming, were creating something far more powerful than any tool money could buy. He was teaching Isabella trust, play, and joy with nothing but a bottle of bubbles and a kind heart. The executive's whispers grew quieter as the moment took over. Every eye in the lobby turned, watching the child transform before their own disbelief. But Victoria remained still, studying Elijah's careful movements, noticing how he never forced the child, how he adapted with each gesture. He had earned Isabella's trust, and with it, he had captured her mother's awe. Isabella's laughter now rang across the marble hall, pure and unguarded. She chased bubbles across the floor, her tiny hands swatting and popping them in delight. Elijah guided her patiently, ensuring the game remained gentle, predictable, and safe. The chaos and noise of the lobby faded away. Only the bubbles, the child, and the janitor's steady presence remained. Victoria finally took a small step forward from behind the glass, her eyes fixed on the unlikely duo. She realized the truth. Authority, wealth, and power mattered nothing when it came to reaching her daughter. True influence lay in patience, empathy, and human connection. She cleared her throat softly, causing Elijah to glance up. His gaze was calm, warm, and entirely unassuming. "You've done what I never thought possible," Victoria said, voice steady but filled with wonder. "My daughter, she trusts you." Elijah shook his head modestly. "I just helped her feel safe," he said. But Victoria knew better. This man had achieved the impossible. He had bridged a chasm of fear that no therapy, no device, and no amount of money had ever crossed. For the first time, the hierarchy of Kane Industries, the titles, the boardroom power, the wealth, felt irrelevant. Elijah, the janitor, held influence far beyond what any executive could imagine. He had done what mattered most. He had reached the heart of a frightened child. By the end of the session, Isabella sat cross-legged on the marble bench, giggling as she tapped the last few bubbles floating around her. Elijah smiled softly, letting her enjoy the moment. Victoria remained still behind the glass, reflecting on what she had just witnessed. Wealth, status, and control could do many things, but none could replicate the quiet power of kindness, patience, and human connection. Elijah returned to his duties, unnoticed by most of the crowd, but he had left a lasting impact. Isabella's laughter lingered in the air, a reminder of what could happen when someone treated a child with respect, care, and play. Victoria later ensured that Elijah's compassion and skill were recognized in ways that went far beyond his janitorial title. The lesson was clear. Never underestimate quiet courage or humble acts of kindness. True influence doesn't come from money, position, or authority. Sometimes, it comes from the simplest gestures, the gentle guidance of a bubble floating in the air, and sometimes it's enough to change a child's world entirely.